Republicans have finally granted Democrats their wish. Well, kind of. I mean, they wanted to have more review. They wanted to have more witnesses in front of them. But now, at least, the FBI will take a look. It's called a supplemental background investigation. What does it mean? We're not exactly sure. But it's a hell of a lot different place than we were just 24 hours ago. Watch this.
If the president and the Republican majority had asked for the FBI to do an investigation at that time, like we asked, it would likely be finished by now. None of us have talked to or questioned James Roach, Lynn Brooks, Liz Swisher, Tom Kane, or Chris Dudley.
Now, 2 points for that clip. One, they were talking about this as a done deal. This process has been malignant and now it's over, but it isn't. Secondly, there were names there of people that should be spoken to. One of them you heard from last night, Lynn Brooks. Right now, another person from that list you just heard Senator Feinstein giving, Liz Swisher, one-time roommate of Debbie Ramirez, therefore Yale classmate of Brett Kavanaugh, joins us now on Primetime. Thank you for taking the opportunity. I know that this isn't what you've been dying to do with your life, but I'm glad you've recognized how much it matters right now.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
All right. So you heard me talking to your friend Lynn last night, and her feelings that she's a Republican, she believes in Kavanaugh's pedigree as a jurist, but she heard him say things under oath that she knows not to be true. Do you share her opinion?
I do. I absolutely share her opinion.
How so? What do you know about Brett Kavanaugh that he was not truthful about in the hearing?
Well, I've known Brett since the very beginning of freshman year. He was always one of the beer-drinking boys, and I drank beer with him. I liked beer. There's no problem with drinking beer in college. The problem is lying about it. He drank heavily. He was a partier. He liked to do beer bongs. He played drinking games. He was a sloppy drunk. He was more interested in impressing the boys than he was in impressing the girls. I never saw him be sexually aggressive, but he definitely was sloppy drunk.
So, in terms of the allegations of a more serious nature, you have nothing on that. You never saw him do anything that you would call wrong or offensive or inappropriate with any women. Good to note, out of fairness. However, his description of himself as, certainly in high school, I was about my church programs, going to church, studying, being number one, doing my sports teams. I didn't have sex in high school, didn't have sex for many years after that. Loved beer, but that's it, nothing to excess. You don't buy it?
I don't buy it. I didn't, that's not the Brett I knew as soon as I met him in college. It's not the Brett I saw during 4 years at Yale. And I don't think many of his answers were credible. I really question any senator that believes the Ralph Club had something to do with his known weak stomach. I knew of no weak stomach. That's not what Ralphing means to any college kid.
Yes, it usually means that you're just throwing up from drinking too much, in general.
Exactly.
There were a lot of things that he explained in a way that didn't meet with a lot of people's expectations. Let me ask you something, though. If he is lying about how much he liked drinking and whether or not he got drunk a lot, if he is not telling the truth about that, do you think that that is disqualifying for him in this
Absolutely. That's perjury. He was under oath.
Even if it's not about the main allegations, even if he's telling the truth that I'm not the one who did this to Christine Ford, I didn't do what your former roommate at Yale, Ramirez, alleges. I never did that to her. I was never there. I didn't do any of that. If he's truthful about all that, but not telling the truth about how he was with booze, that's enough for you?
That's enough for me. If he had said, I would have stayed on the sidelines if he had said, I drank to excess in high school, I drank to excess in college, I did some stupid things, but I never sexually assaulted anybody. That I would have stayed on the sidelines for. I didn't have any credible evidence to the contrary. But to lie under oath, to lie about that, then what else is true? To blur, in the highest position in the judiciary in our land, to not know the difference between truth and lies. That's just terrible. It's not about women versus men. It's not about Democrats versus Republicans. It's about the integrity of the Supreme Court.
Now, I'm not asking you about what Ramirez alleges because you've already said you don't know anything about that. You were her roommate, but you weren't present. You hadn't heard about it at the time. You don't know anything about it. Let me ask you something. Are you willing to talk to the FBI?
I'm willing to talk to the FBI, yes.
And that's a little bit of a scary proposition, too. You know, one of the differences, even if you put out a sworn statement, which some people have, I think in Mark Judge's case, it was through his attorney. So that's a little tricky in terms of whether or not that's a sworn statement that has the same penalty of a felony that others do. But when you sit across from the FBI, you have to tell them the truth or it's a crime. Not a problem for you?
Not a problem for me. I believe in the truth.
Liz Swisher, thank you very much for taking this opportunity. I know it is not a conversation that you've been dying to have, but it matters to the country. It matters right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right.